You want to know when my life turned into a reality show with a villain who just won't quit? Let me paint you a picture. I opened my front door one sunrise, and there she was, Karen, holding a half-burned welcome mat like it was the Holy Grail and grinning that smug grin only a true HOA dictator could master. Sheriff's cruiser idling behind her, the sun barely up, and the first words out of her mouth? Congratulations on owning this neighborhood. Won't save you now. I mean, you want a reason to lose your appetite before coffee. There you go. Prison didn't humble Karen. It made her sharper, meaner, and 1,000 times more unpredictable. Before I could even form a good morning, she shoved the charred mat against my chest and started hollering about how I ruined her life, and now she was back to ruin mine. I almost laughed, and then I remembered this woman once made an entire block tremble just by glancing at a mailbox. Only difference? Now I owned everything. The roads, the pond, the clubhouse. All of it. Yet she acted like the ground itself was still hers. And for one split second, I realized she didn't come back to ask for forgiveness or a fresh start. She was here to make war. The sheriff's deputy looked more tired than a single parent on Christmas morning. Karen insisted on personally delivering her release paperwork because, apparently, it was required by HOA terms. Never mind, the HOA was dead and buried, and she was the one who killed it with fraud. I told the deputy the HOA was gone. I never reinstated it, and Karen shot me this wicked grin like she'd been dying to hear those words. Good, she said, because I restarted it last night. The deputy groaned. She handed me a crumpled charter that looked like it was printed with stolen prison library ink, announcing she was once again in charge. I nearly laughed her off my porch, but she started rambling about new fines, $7,000 worth, for everything from mailbox shine to unpatriotic porch lighting and, get this, suspiciously smug yard mowing. Prison didn't fix Karen. It gave her time to memorize every possible behavior she despised. The deputy, bless him, tried to warn her she couldn't harass residents anymore or play kingmaker, but she just doubled down. The neighborhood is spiritually mine, she said, and I'll fight to the last breath. It was so over the top, I almost expected hidden cameras. She tried to claim the community truck I used for landscaping was illegally parked and threatened to tow it, even though, and this is rich, I'm literally the one who calls the towing companies now. When I told her she had no claim here, she spun to the deputy and accused me of emotional attacks and violating homeowner rights. The deputy reminded her she didn't even own a home. The state seized her property for restitution. She went quiet, but just for a moment, then hissed she had one last move, and the look in her eye made my skin crawl. She stormed off, shouting at mailboxes, yelling at joggers to respect her authority, and the neighborhood never quite breathed easy again. And you know what haunted me most? As she stomped away, she muttered, "I know your weakness, and it isn't what you think." For days, the neighborhood felt like it was holding its breath. My phone started buzzing with messages from neighbors, Karen marching through the streets at 3 a.m. in a prison-issued jacket, shouting about mandatory compliance inspections. The whole thing would have been funny if it wasn't so well, Karen. I walked out and found her balanced on a lawn chair, screaming through a megaphone, demanding everyone gather for an emergency meeting. Mrs. Dalton, a retired grandma who once paid $300 for having one too many birthday balloons, stepped up and told Karen she couldn't wake people at 3 a.m. Karen responded by blaring her siren and claiming she was enforcing noise regulations. Half the neighborhood nearly lost it right there. Still, she pointed her fury at me, demanding a legal audit, swearing I'd tricked the county into handing me everything. I tried to keep calm, reminded her that her legal challenges had already crashed and burned in court, where even the judge called her arguments fictional. But she leaned in, eyes wild, and whispered prison taught her how to be patient and how to take someone down from the inside. And just like that, the mind games began. She started posting fake notices on mailboxes, declaring the HOA was back and that yard inspections would start at noon. The deputy warned her she was skating on thin ice, but Karen refused to back down, tossing the remaining stack of notices into my yard, hollering that as long as she breathed, the HOA lived. It might have been pathetic if it wasn't so relentless. But here's where things took a dark turn. Out of nowhere, unfamiliar people began gathering by the clubhouse, whispering, carrying clipboards and binders. Flyers showed up. Reinstate the HOA, bring back order. And the language was just a little too slick. Someone with legal know-how was helping her. Karen had allies now, or at least she'd managed to recruit people gullible enough to buy into her delusion. When I checked my mailbox, I found a handwritten letter. I told you I know your weakness. Now I'm using it. Before I could brush it off, I heard shouting. Karen, crowbar in hand, trying to pry open the maintenance shed, yelling about reclaiming confiscated HOA property. As I rushed over, the truth hit me. She wasn't trying to rebuild power. She wanted revenge. She was willing to tear down the whole neighborhood just to get even. The next few days became a blur of sabotage and psychological warfare. First, clubhouse lights flickered, alarms went off, keys went missing. Then, a group of strangers tried to break into the irrigation control. Karen started passing out fake violation forms, accusing residents of everything from leaf arrogance to uncooperative bird activity. She reported me to code enforcement, filed complaints about illegal infrastructure changes and demolition threats. The more outrageous the claim, the more some people believed her, because, chaos is easier to believe than calm logic. And all the while, Karen stoked the fires. She'd stand at the end of my street, handing papers to anyone who'd listen, whispering about a basement truth that would expose me at the county hearing. Flyers went up overnight. Beware the current owner. He's hiding something harmful from you. Neighbors who'd known me for years started giving me these looks, not quite sure anymore. Karen didn't need proof. She just needed doubt. When the day of the town hall finally came, she made her grand entrance, blazer, binder, the whole 9 yards. She gave a speech full of lies. I'd forged documents, stolen funds, even orchestrated her imprisonment. And then, with a flourish, she announced she had video evidence from the clubhouse basement. My heart stopped. But as the video played, it was obvious. The guy in the footage wasn't even me. It was her legal consultant, staged for effect. The county official called her out on the spot. Karen bolted from the room, but not before her entire house of cards started collapsing. I wish I could say that was the end. It wasn't. That night, as the neighborhood tried to recover, Karen slipped back under the radar. But not before leaving one last horror, a black duffel bag in the basement of the clubhouse, packed with a crude homemade bomb. The basement truth. She didn't want justice. She wanted to burn the place to the ground. I called the sheriff, and the bomb squad cleared the device before anyone got hurt, but the message was crystal clear. Karen hadn't come back for redemption. She came back to destroy the world she lost because she couldn't stand the idea of someone else having what she once controlled. By the time dawn came and the flashing lights faded, the neighborhood gathered together, shaken, but united in a way we hadn't been for years. They apologized. They thanked me. They promised never to let fear and rumor become truth again. Karen disappeared into the night, probably for good this time. And as I stood there in the street, the weight of weeks finally slipping from my shoulders, I realized something. The real battle was never about property or power. It was about trust and what people choose to believe when fear takes the wheel. So, tell me, if it were your neighborhood, would you forgive the folks who doubted you? Would you trust the system to protect you? Or would you take matters into your own hands? And do you think someone like Karen can ever really change? Or are some folks just born to burn bridges? Let me know what you'd have done. Drop your story, your opinion, or even your wildest HOA horror below. Because believe me, every voice matters when the real enemy is doubt.